Father Pat with us this morning on SSJ at home. Good morning, Father.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, ready to get going on this week. And I am, interestingly enough, in my morning inbox this morning, Rick Warren, the well-known pastor, the topic of his email is to focus on God's goodness in your darkest days. And oddly enough, you wrote about the same thing. So apparently, Pastor Warren's following the liturgical calendar, even though he doesn't say that. So I know he's a friend of the Catholic Church. I've seen him speak before, and he's very good. But his message is on point with what the gospel reading is about and what you want to talk about this morning.
Yeah, right. Sure. I mean, especially in times like this where all of our problems, all of our troubles seem so overwhelming, right? In our gospel this weekend, right? The apostles were, looking out at all of the multitude of people there and wondering how they were ever going to feed them. They must have been so frustrated when they went to Jesus and said, hey, you got to dismiss the crowd so they can go back and go back into the towns and get food. And Jesus says, no, you feed them. And they're like, well, all we got here is these 5 loaves and 2 fishes. How are we going to feed them, right? But Jesus did feed them with the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, right? And that's what we've got to remember here in these days is that, the problems we're facing, the things we're facing seem so insurmountable. But, even with a little meager offering, with God's blessing, we can make a huge difference, right? And as Deacon Joe kind of talked about in his homily this week, right? That in these times we tend to get selfish, right? Because we tend to, rightfully, we're worried about ourselves and our family and that. But we have to open up and see the people around us hurting, right? I keep both I mentioned it in my newsletter this weekend in the bulletin. The need we have to support St. Vincent de Paul. I mean, there is just such a great need there. But, there are lots of great needs in our community here, and we need to find ways to support them. It's been gratifying these last few weeks to see the outpouring of support that we've had for the Loaves and Fishes ministry. When that ministry, when they had to close the kitchen, right, it was people from this parish who took it upon themselves to go out there and to pass out brown bags so that, the homeless people would still get a meal. And now I understand the kitchens are back open and limited volunteers, limited people allowed in the kitchen. But, at least now there is the people are getting hot meals and all from it. So, in this time, you got to recognize the little things we can do and how great God's blessings will be, that how he builds on the little things we can do to really make a difference.
He can take our, what little, like you say, he can take our little offering and really make it, multiply it, just like he did in the Gospels. So it's always been a fascinating story to read and think about.
Yeah, and that's why trusting in God is so important, right? I mean, that's why also during this time, we've got to just keep repeating, Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. That even when things look overwhelming, we just know that God's blessings are there, right? That God comes to us in those darkest times. That's why prayer is so important, right? Prayer is so important. Obviously, the election that's coming up is a very crucial, critical election, and we have to, keep praying for our country, right? We certainly have to get out and vote. That's the one thing tangible we can do. But, beyond that, just prayer is just so important to just keep praying for our country. We will be starting August 15th on the Feast of Our Lady of Assumption, this 6 novenas, 54 days of novenas, three novenas, 27 days, praying for our country, praying for God's blessings upon our country, and then 3 novenas, 27 days, praying in thanksgiving that we know that that God will hear our prayers and that God will see us through this.
And it's I believe, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a rosary novena. So it's a rosary every day, right?
Yeah, so it's a rosary every day. It's a rosary for the 54 days, right? For the 6 novenas. A novena is 9 days of prayer. And so the 54 days is 6 novenas that we'll be praying.
Okay. And we do pray a rosary on Zoom every day at SSJ at 5 o'clock.
At 5 o'clock, yes. Some women have organized that. They've been praying faithfully for a few months now. We've got links on the website and all for it for people to come and join us. I mean, prayer during this time is just so important, right? And especially communal prayer, right? Joining with others, praying the rosary. We do the divine office each morning prayer. You can join us for that. There's lots of prayer groups out there, different devotional groups, intercessory groups. We got to keep praying for those blessings of God, right? That's one of the little meager offerings we can make that God will multiply over and over again, is just the power of prayer.
As usual, Father, thanks for your insight and your time and for dropping by for a visit today. We'll certainly talk later this week.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.